How are you, folks? Enzo DiCostanzo, clinical professor of economics and finance at St. Peter's in Jersey City. And this is the week of September 12th, which is that Monday. So this is a video and a lecture for the 15th, really. And the 14th, we had a little bit of the macroeconomic lecture that I put out on Friday, which was the 9th. So we're sandwiched right. Actually, today's September 11th. So we all want to remember those events. A lot of you, I don't know if you were born, maybe not even born, or very young, but I was at Rutgers when September 11th happened, and I remember me and my father were in the backyard when that happened. I remember very clearly the events of that day. It's quite a thing. And actually, this morning Fox News was replaying the air traffic control tower radio traffic and some of the firemen, some of the emergency services folks, the New York City Fire Department and maybe the NYPD or the Port Authority police. They were having the radio communications. It was chilling, even though it's 21 years ago. It somehow it doesn't seem better that it's all this time has passed, and certainly Jersey City had I wasn't working in Jersey City at the time, but Jersey City had a front row seat to what was going on. It was very physically very close. It's right across the Hudson River. But what if I wish we would figure out a way to resolve our differences without all those kinds of things happening. I hope that we can get there as a human race, that we can just resolve things without that happening. I hope that's what happens, folks. Here, let's get to Blackboard. That's the first thing I want to take a look at. I am relogging on, and I'm not going to forget to hit the share screen. That last 10 minutes of the Associated Press video, I didn't hit the share screen, so that's my fault. Yeah, let's do it like that. There we go. And also, as we're starting this, I want to throw this out, and let's do share. Yeah, I want to throw this out to the I want to throw this out. Yeah, forget about this guy. I want to throw this out to the yeah, I want to throw this out to the 410 and the 415 sections. And actually, this is a commercial from Kinesis. And actually, this is the 2016 team. There's something called the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. It's like the CPA, and I'm thinking, I don't know if it goes back to the days of Warren Buffett and Benjamin Graham and those guys, but there's a group in New York. It was called the New York Society of Securities Analysts when I went to Fordham, and it's probably gone through a couple metamorphosis, here and there, but it's sort of to get college students and MBA students and different people like that, to get those folks experience and get them get a little sort of spring training on analyzing stocks and really analyzing companies. I don't say analyzing stocks, analyzing companies, but you'll hear the lingo in New York is, oh, we're analyzing stocks and bonds, but you're really analyzing what a company's capital structure. You're analyzing the earnings, and you're analyzing what the company buying public, the stock buying public, the bond buying public thinks of those cash flows. Which sounds very simple to say that, but once you start to sit down and do it, it gets very complicated. So for the 410 and the 415 groups, I sent you guys a list of, let's see if I can find it, if I can quickly find it. Here it is. Yeah, I sent the 410 and the 415 group. The 101s, forget it. This is not for you guys. But here's a CFA Research Challenge. This is something else. This is what is a CFA Research Challenge, and then something about the CFA Institute, another one of those, and then this is Kinesis College, and this is the Kinesis College one, which is right here.
Impact on my life and really encapsulate what the value brings to his life is the opportunity to CFA Research Challenge. CFA started in 2007. Each local competition, publicly traded subject.
Yeah, they said it started in 2007, but actually I was a part of it in 2004, 5, and 6. So yeah, I think it depends on who you ask. These guys are all the way up in Buffalo. What do they know? Okay, but no, it started before that. It probably started in the 20s or the 30s. This was Warren Buffett's group that he would come to New York and have a conversation about stock market valuations and the Dow Jones indices valuation, and maybe some specific company ideas and how to analyze a company, all the things that Warren Buffett does. And he started this long ago in the 50s or whatever it was. He was coming to New York, and it was the Ben Graham sort of annual retreat seminar, Jackson Hole, Wyoming discussion, however, whatever you want to call it. Everyone wants to co-opt it for themselves. But it's a discussion on how to work in asset management, how to work in capital management, things of that nature. And then you actually generate a report, and the report has several different parts. And like I said, you guys can look at the, you guys can look at the, what do you call it? You guys can look at the, you guys can look at the videos and things of that nature, and what the report looks like. It's not minor. It's not like the assignments that we have in class where it's just a couple pages. I did it a few years ago. Actually, I did it a couple times at St. Peter's. It's 20, 30 pages, but we may not go that far with it, this time through, but it can be pretty long. Rutgers participated in it for quite a number of years. I don't know if they still do. Fordham was very big in this. I don't know. Columbia and NYU, they're in it. They're not in it. When I started, there were like maybe 6 colleges that were involved in it when I went to Fordham in the early 2000s. Eventually, it's like 30 colleges, or maybe even more, 35 or something like that. And now there's a global one, but it's a student activity to get you thinking about how to analyze companies and what really, at the end of the day, we're looking for what a valuation, the valuation of the company is, describing it, characterizing it. That's really what you're doing. And there's, 7 ways to Sunday as to how to do that. So there's a lot of different versions to do, but watch a little bit of this. And this is about 3 minutes. And actually, for the email that I sent to my advanced classes, Canisius is a Jesuit college up in Buffalo. It's just like St. Peter's and Fairfield, and Boston College, and the one out in Los Angeles, New Orleans, and Chicago. There's a bunch of them all over the place. Wisconsin, and there's whatever. We have 18 of them. And then globally, there's a whole. Folks, let me tell you, you go to Argentina and Brazil, their Harvard is a Jesuit college. They're really out. Not certainly in America, they're very well respected, but even beyond the borders of America, not maybe so much in Europe, but certainly in Europe too. But in Latin America, that's like the place to go. You say Jesuits, you name the Latin American country, and people know what that is. So anyway, Canisius was a Dutch Jesuit Catholic priest. He became known for his strong support for the Catholic faith during the Protestant Reformation in Germany, Austria, Bohemia, Moravia, Switzerland, and the British Isles. The restoration of the Catholic Church in Germany after the Protestant Reformation is largely attributed to the work there by the Society of Jesus, which he led. He's venerated in the Catholic Church as a saint and a doctor of the church. So you can, and you feel free to dig more into who Peter Canisius is and the college, and you can see around the time. Canisius St. Peter's was 1872, NJT was 1881, even though NJT is not really Jesuit, but it could be. So anyhow, but so look at some of these links and take a little bit of time with that. Okay. All right. That was, again, I had a list of things that I was going to go over. That was like the first thing. Okay. That was the first thing. Yeah. Let's get to Blackboard before we get to sort of what else we're going to talk about today. So I'm just going to pick whatever somebody's website here. Yeah. So again, for the week coming up, right, the 12th is live. 12th is normal schedule. The 14th, I only have my morning classes. So the 101 and the 410, we're meeting at 8 and 9 o'clock on Wednesday. But my 1 o'clock and my 2 o'clock, because of the mass, we're not going to meet those days. And also, and it'll say YouTube. This is my morning. This is the 101. This is my 8 o'clock section. For the 04, this will say, YouTube video. So, just be aware of that. Thursday, complete YouTube. So, I'm not going to be on campus on Thursday, but again, we have this video, this is covering Thursday's class. And the one I sent, and I'm going to get to it, the Associated Press on sort of the macroeconomy, that one will cover Wednesday, because that also was about an hour. We'll get to that. But actually, what I wanted to also go through, so this video will be posted up here, and we'll get to that. This is making graphs, and I have a little set of notes on what we're talking about here. This is what's going to go up. This is Biden's agenda, the IRS, what the administration is seeking, and we're going to go through the graphs, the audit rate, and the number of enforcement personnel. We'll go through, and we'll go through how to set up the homework. And actually, let's get to the homework. So now we have a bunch more folders here. Now we have 5 folders here. So the assignments are posted. Okay, this is due the week of the 19th. Don't wait on this. Start working on it the weekend coming up. You have all the way till Friday. You all have all until the 23rd, so you have a good 10 days to work on it. It shouldn't take you that much time. It's reading an article, answering about 10 questions, and making 2 graphs. So the questions are here. You got to make the graph, and it goes. And I'll go through that in the video today. We'll go through that. But there's a bunch of questions here about the tax courts and functions of the IRS and what the commissioner thinks and what this money's for. Actually, this one you're just filling in. How much are we spending for enforcement and how much are we yielding in revenue? That you just sort of read the article and you find that what was Obama's budget for the IRS during his first couple years, that those kinds of questions. So this is something for the people I've done it before. You're going to upload it on Blackboard. Now, also, I want you to upload it as a PDF. Okay, so you should have that software on your laptop, or at least go someplace where you can get the software in terms of, like, I think the library or the library has PDF writer in there, and you have to go in there to just convert your articles or your Word documents to PDF. And you can, because you can do everything in Word, but then I want a PDF conversion, and you have to go to the library to do that. Okay, so and if you don't have it yourself, I have it. I'll tell you, I don't think in class I have, but I have it on this computer. I have it. If you look here, you look at see what it says Adobe Acrobat. So I've got it there. So you should do that. The Associated Press. This is another set of videos. And folks, I have to apologize for this being in 2 pieces. There's no reason for this to be in 2 pieces, but I don't know. I was clicking around and I accidentally hit the off button up here. And so I had to, make up the last 10 minutes. But I'm going to cut these, maybe not every week, but I'm going to cut these videos on the economy towards the end of the week, like maybe Friday morning. I might make these videos on Friday morning and just go over the economy. There's some notes in here, and it talks about how the economy is doing and things of that nature. So it gives you a little bit of stuff for the 2 macro classes. So at least you have the macro background here, borrowing rates. Yeah, and here. Just in a summary of what this all, and again, we've already explained in the video, but we expect the central bank to keep raising key short-term rates by 3/4 of a point. The European Central Bank increased its short-term or its key rate, or it's like its our version of the federal funds rate, 3/4 of a point. The largest its relative short history. Oops, stay in the call. I forgot about that. That little beep is to remind me that to keep recording. So 10 minutes in, I got to hit it. I apologize for being a little discontinuous with that. So many economists say borrowing rates will keep rising. So that as rates keep rising, employers cut jobs. As employers cut jobs, consumers have less money. They reduce spending, and there's an economic downturn. That's the logic. That the CFA stuff is like that. This is for the macro economy, but you can look at how that's going to impact us. The CFA stuff is a microeconomic issue, and you can write your reports, that way. Larry Summers, the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, had said he thinks the unemployment rate. So the unemployment. This is what Larry Summers, what the unemployment rate may be, and also he's not mentioning what he thinks interest rates are going to be. But to reduce interest rates, generally to reduce inflation, the federal funds rate has got to be above inflation. So what does that mean, right? We're talking about unemployment here. A high federal funds rate and a high unemployment. Neither one of those are really very good. For the week, or for the year, everything's down 12%, 24%, 17%. Natural gas prices up, 10 times or more. Say gas means natural gas. The European Central Bank, its largest ever interest rate increase. The 19 countries that use the euro. Okay, that stuff. And again, this is all there. And then here's something. It says years of soaring home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates remain hurdles for many would-be homebuyers. More homes are selling for less than the asking price more homes are selling for less than the asking price than above the asking price. So in other words, there's more homes missing the asking. The asking price is too much, and they're being sold for less than people are overbidding for these properties. Okay, and the market's becoming less skewed less skewed in favor of the seller, maybe a little more skewed in terms of the buyer. But I went through all of this. So I'm not going to repeat this. But you should be watching these, okay? And I'm going to do something where we're going to make sure that you're watching them by some sort of assignment or something along those lines. So there might be some kind of something that you're going to have to do, okay? That lets me know that you're watching those. So you have an Associated Press folder. You have an assignments folder. Under regulation, I've expanded this. I put a little more detail for the IRS data book. These are the 8 tables. You should read through these tables, and I might give an assignment where you might have to graph some of this stuff. So I said this in class up to table 8. I said that. Also, I expanded this is the individual retirement arranger. And actually, folks, this is what I love about teaching. The work that we're doing with the tax area. I want to refer to this IRS publication that I'm trying to refer to the tax code every time we say something. Okay, so a lot of it is just computing an adjusted gross or a taxable income or something like that. But even that stuff relates back to the IRS. And I wasn't referencing that as much when I started those problems. I'm doing it now. So I might have to go back a bit. We didn't really start any of the problems that refer to this. We're still sort of working on sort of some of my own stuff. But here, what may be coming for you guys is this stuff. Here, some federal income tax examples, taxable income, the brackets, effective tax rates, adjusted gross computations based on your filing status. What is your taxable income going to be based on deductions and standard deductions and things of that nature. Okay, earnings, people who are married, what they're paying in taxes, things of that nature. How to compute a tax liability, gross income again, reported gross income. We'll get to these examples of tax deductions. So it's all these. We're going to get tax brackets. We're going to be hitting effective tax rate, taxable income, net interest income. We're going to look at that. Carry loss, capital loss carry forward. We're going to look at some carry forward, operating loss carry forward, capital loss carry forward, capital gains, net operating income, capital loss carry over. Another one of those, realized losses and gains. Okay, we have a lot of good stuff that we're going to go. You guys are going to know a lot in here if you pay attention. Okay, and folks, I said it now. I know this may not apply to everybody sort of listening to this video, but if what I do is not for you, you got to make that decision pretty quickly, because there are other people who teach the courses. I'm not trying to be sinister or terrible, but by saying that, I'm just saying, it may not be right for everybody, and that's fine. But I know that what I'm saying is useful in the field, and people who want to work at this level, and the way I'm showing you to work is how you're going to work. Okay, but you've got to come to peace and come to terms with that yourself as much as possible. This thing, like I said, I might want to do something with that at some point. We updated the data, the associate press, the assignments. Okay, so we're good. So now what we're going to do the rest of the time on this video today, we have the we have the I hear thunder out there. Yeah, we discussed this in class. This was Biden's agenda on the Shrunken. Now, also, I'll try to stress or go over. I'm not going to. I'll also here with the assignment. You saw the document on there. You got to make a cover page, answer the questions, make the graphs in Excel, copy just the graphs from Excel into Word, and then make a PDF of that page. Just hit the PDF button on a computer that has Word and PDF writer. That's what you need to be able to do. And folks, you got to follow the details. You have to. We spoke about this in class. President Biden to implement his ambitious economic agenda, he has to rely on a beleaguered arm of the government called the Internal Revenue Service, the U.S. Tax Agency. Shrunken after a decade of budget cuts is sending $1,400 payments to most Americans because they have all of our bank account information, and they're the people who, now that's not really their function to send out all those checks, but they have the coordinates to do so. And they did this 3 times. We discussed this in the data book in class. Then there was a relief law. It says last month, but I guess that would be March or something of last year. I guess the third one requires IRS to create a system outside the annual tax filings for issuing child tax credit payments, and further complicating an already messy filing season in which the April 15th deadline was pushed back to May 17th. The agency must implement a retroactive change to taxation of unemployment benefits received in 2020. Yeah. Okay, so we had that also. So tax credits, unemployment benefits. So they're doing a lot of things now. They're almost behaving as the Social Security Administration would behave. So, and what the Biden folks are trying to do, and we'll get to the numbers in a second, but they hope to collect hundreds of billions of dollars by expanding the IRS and beefing up audits. And I'll tell you, and I'm not trying to talk about the left's base or the right's base or anybody else's political base, but certainly with the White House that we have now, that plays well to the ears of their constituency that says, oh, yeah, we're going to expand and beef up audits of the very wealthy and collect hundreds of billions of dollars that they owe us so we can have social programs, and it's just that's not going to, you're not going to inspire investment, innovation, development. None of that stuff is going to be inspired by just taxing very heavily the people who are making the jobs, making the careers, making the industries, making the products, making the services, inventing what's going on, saying, well, we're just going to take what you did and just, no one's going to, that's not going to inspire anybody to do that, to do anything. So getting all that done will likely be transformation of the tax agency, although the IRS still inspires scrutiny. Okay, so yeah, now we discussed this in class, and I'll just mention it on the video here. There's a 15% net loss of employees. So whatever it is, 80,000, whatever the number might be. Maybe it was higher. Again, I don't have that necessarily in front of me, but one of the graphs that you're going to make is we're going to graph the enforcement personnel, and that's plummeted. I think it's plummeted more than 15%. Where is it? Here. I have the table here. Yeah, here's the enforcement personnel. I didn't do a percentage change, but I could very easily do that here. So this is equal to parenthesis this. I think this is going to be more than 15%. Yeah, 43% decline. Okay, and enforcement from 2010 to 2020. Okay, I'm not asking you to make that computation, but what did we do here? We took the 2020 number minus the 2010 number and parenthesis the difference, and then divided by the older number, and we got a minus 40%. So that's a lot. That's a lot. So, and it says this is all employees, not enforcement employees. So again, we did our own little computation. This 50% is in line with what we computed, and you want to work that way, okay? Including thousands who pursue tax avoidance, answer taxpayer queries. Again, no federal agency wants it to be a bad confrontational problem from day, unless you make it that way. They want it to be just a mutual discussion as to what's going on, get to a good conclusion. There was a guy, I think, and again, Fox News has its slant, CNN has their slant on everything, but it's not on Fox News. It was a former IRS, I don't know if it was an enforcement person or whoever it was, but he says these IRS guys, all they care about is bonuses and their titles, and that's true. Probably a lot of government agencies, that's probably true. It's not probably just true in the IRS, and that's why I think they're very tempered, especially now. And let's face it, this is another law enforcement function, so the general population opinion on law enforcement isn't great right now. I just watched some videos before I clicked on to work with you guys of people, and like 9 million people view. That's a lot of people viewing a specific video. There was a video put by the Law and Crime Center. I don't know where they're based out of, but it showed. Now, granted, maybe an unruly passenger on a Delta flight and somebody in a bank and it was the two that I watched were in Florida, where the local law enforcement were dragging people with dogs, and they were dragging people out of banks and dragging people, off of planes who didn't have masks on. And now we know the mask thing doesn't really help that much. But the hospitals, I'll tell you, the hospitals are telling us to do it. So that I'll try to put some faith in that outside of some sort of other agency. But you're right, it's been a tenuous time the last couple of years, and hopefully we get out of it at some point, and we're better for it. But even like I said, with the September 11th thing, even though it was 21 years ago, but I still remember it, and it still hits me, because I'll tell you, a year before the September 11th attacks happened, I was at NJIT when the initial attacks, the 93 attacks happened, and I remember one of our teachers was working the World Trade that day. It was like a Tuesday or something, and she came. It was our Tuesday or Wednesday, and in the 93 one. And the kid who did it was a kid who went to Rutgers or was involved in it. It was a kid who went to Rutgers, and that astonished me, but apparently so. And I think he's the guy who went to prison for a very long. He's out in that Supermax prison, Colorado, someplace. But it's quite a thing, and you never really. Those big events are. We're not going to push the virus thing. We're changed forever. We were changed forever by September 11th. We were changed forever by this virus thing. So hopefully, though, we figure out just a better way to navigate everything. Biden actually impressed me today with his speech. He was talking on his own. He wasn't just reading off of something. He was, he was the old Joe Biden, and I was happy to see that. But we don't get that guy every day. That's the problem. So anyhow. But so there's a net loss of 15% of the employees. So again, Fox News, they're juicing this up. Oh, 87,000 wages. You better get your safes. They're going to come with a safe cracker. It's this big dramatic thing. This big dramatic thing description of what this is going to be. When basically that number of employees basically might just cover everyone who's retiring in the next, and there might be a few thousand more. So even Obama said we shouldn't really chase. Really just hound people for their taxes owed. So that was Obama's years, by the way. So like I said, not a big difference. Trump is a unique guy, but even he's got to play the game. And you can see he's not playing the game. You can see what's happening to him. So and that's a guy with all the resources in the world and then some. So including thousands who pursue tax avoidance, answer queries. Fine. It opens up a half as many investigations today as it did in 2010. In fiscal 2019, the percentage of individuals ordered reached its lowest level in 40 years. Folks, 40 years, that's your parents. Think of when your parents were born. That's about that. What was that, 1980? Since 1980. And here's some of the numbers, and some of these might be some answers. I'm not going to go question by question. You've got to read the article. You've got to read the questions. You got to be able to do all that. But at least 381 billion goes uncollected annually. That's an estimate. And this is for 2011, 2012, 2013, which is a decade ago. Inflation and budget cuts means that this current number is likely to be much larger. And the IRS commissioner says it could be as high as $1 trillion. It could be double, triple that amount, which is more than the annual defense budget. Okay. Getting more than half the missing money would require much more intrusive enforcement. By picking up the easiest quarter could yield as much revenue as Mr. Biden's proposed corporate tax rate increase. So, yeah. We'll say, okay, well, instead of increasing taxes, we're just gonna collect what's owed to us, and are they gonna call it a day at that? Because the traditionally the Democrats love to tax and spend. That's been the Democratic Party philosophy for a long time. To the agency's backers, this is a no-brainer. The rig government program that pays for itself. Okay, and then again, so we're trying to modernize technology, improve customer service. Okay, that's divisions of motor vehicle, the court system. These guys are always trying to improve that as much as possible. Okay, so this is a small piece of this. This was maybe some the latest bill that was passed. It says Democrat control the White House and Congress ensures political support for funding the plan. The new laws provisions and tougher enforcement for now. The relief law gives another $2 billion but again another $2 billion for him. Okay, if the budget's $80 billion and they're giving another $2. Okay, it's something, but it's not. It's not gonna move the needle that much. What was the budget here with these guys? There was a budget someplace. I know it's in there. I thought we previously looked at it. We didn't. But the budget is in the 80 billion area. So 2 billion. Again, you want to relate. Okay, well, we're going to spend 2 billion more. And is that over is it over the next 10 years? What is that? Is it for 1 year? Is that for 10 years? So the administration's first budget calls for another 1.2 billion boost over the baseline funding, plus another 417 million is a part of the multi-year increase. Okay, so if you're enforcing, again, see right here, you're reading through the numbers. They're going to increase 500 million a year as a part of the multi-year increase in enforcement. Is that all it's going to be, or is it going to be 2 billion boosting a year? So if you're boosting 2 billion a year, it's really 20 billion, not 87 billion. Right, for enforcement, if you do that math. So you can see, I want you to read through these numbers. The IRS is important to a healthy country. This is the information technology and back office guy, which is critical to banks, critical to motor vehicle, critical to all those kinds of things. It says the Republicans haven't pursued pushing to further shrink the IRS, but they haven't voiced support either for dramatic expansion. So again, the GOP just being quiet, I guess, don't say anything, right? That's the Midwestern GOP thinking. And lawmakers backed a recent increase in the IRS's funding and last year's one-time boost to implement the pandemic response fund. And the IRS, what is the IRS? It's a collections company. It's it's a police force or law enforcement. It's a law firm, right? That's as important, right? As law enforcement, more important than law enforcement, with the people who can accurately read the law and accurately understand procedures. Financial institution. It's a call center. It's a high security information technology shop, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 6 things, right? And I think that was another question was something like that. It operates with political constraints, no private company faces, budgets that fluctuate with election results, and pushback from influential businesses, large or small, when it ramps up enforcement. Folks, don't kid yourself. Obama was deep in the pocket of the investment banks. Don't think for one. Look where he's living. That should tell you everything. Okay. Up in Massachusetts, where all the investment bankers have summer homes. So if I hadn't lived in Washington for 50 years, I would say, wow, this is a defining moment. But obviously, former commissioners, again, reading it like I am, will believe it when we see it, kind of a thing. I didn't go through the Trump tax law legislation from 5 years ago, but I should. So I'm not going to talk about it now because I really haven't prepared to do it. But certainly, there's all sorts of changes in the code. That things that were true year before aren't true now. Things, deductions have changed or whatever. Maybe the tax credit has changed. So, yeah, there were some court victories where Coca-Cola, Whirlpool, some land right developers or promoters, fought the IRS. But the IRS seems to look at this as it notched court victories against Coca-Cola. Okay, so it won some of these and then implemented the major tax law and more changes during the pandemic with employees working from home. It churned out hundreds of millions of stimulus checks faster than in 2008. Then the beat the pace in the second and third rounds. Okay, we're okay. I'm just making sure, all right. So it wants to demonstrate that it's a can-do agency. They're getting an opportunity to look at the IRS differently. Okay. And are people waiting long? I'll tell you, my mom needs to have her New Jersey state ID updated. I emailed the Division of Motor Vehicle weeks and weeks ago, and they were supposed to get back to us within 3 days, and still haven't heard anything from them, unless I made a mistake in the email or something, but still haven't heard back from them. So my mom, again, to have a soon to be 97-year-old woman stand in line at DMV with everybody coughing and sneezing on her just to take a state ID picture, that's something that's very appealing to me. Paper tax returns and other correspondence piled up in trailers last year is still working. Okay, trailers. So they're storing paper returns in tractor trailers. That's very reminiscent of Miami back in the early 1980s, and I'll let you guys look up what that means. The IRS erroneously sent hundreds of thousands of warning notices to people whose returns were caught up in those delays. Audit rates have dropped steadily, and also there was since funding peaked in 2010, and non-compliant taxpayers either get away from not filing or not even paying. But we'll go through audits. Not today. We'll go through audits. The Inspector General's inquiry found that a group of taxpayers here. This is something that the Democrats are trying to. They would put this on a flag if they could. So the Inspector General's inquiry found that a group of taxpayers with average incomes of 1.6 million had uncollected balances topping over 2 billion. Okay, so you're making over 1.5 million a year, but your uncollected balance is 2 billion. Well, they have the attorneys to fight everything. They have the tax experts to fight everything. And we have a court system where you've got to prove at least what it's supposed to be. Just the state or the U.S. government is supposed to prove your guilt, not you prove your innocence. You help by proving your innocence, or or contradicting what you're showing some exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory evidence means it shows that you're innocent, kind of a thing. But it's not show me the person, I'll show you the crime. But unfortunately, it's become a little more of the second one, which is how the communist system works. Show me the person, we'll show you what they did wrong. So you guys, you got to take responsibility for the what's going on. In a sense, we're not obviously not now, but in the future, we want to be able to take. It's not going to just work on its own. You got to have moral, ethical people, calling the shots when you're mayors of different cities and different things, and when you're in positions to influence, right? You want to be able to say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, kind of a situation. So I hope I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger. Oops, I don't want this. Isn't it great doing these on YouTube? I love this. So anyway, agent technology can make it hard for employees to track cases across the system. requiring multiple calls and letter exchanges that can be particularly hard on low-income people who can't afford lawyers and accountants. IRS enforcement is hampered by the complexity of tax avoidance strategies and sophisticated opponents with resources and incentive to risk audits and court battles. Disputes with multinationals such as Facebook can drag on for years. Yeah, I mean, I have it's coming up. We have a list of sort of what the IRS needs to come to court with, and it's not just the agent. They got to come with attorneys and experts and video and all sorts. The state's got to prove it, and especially proving intent or intention is very difficult. And people who are earning $1.5 million a year can afford, quite a defense. They can afford quite a defense. It's time consuming. It's labor intensive. Okay, so it's here. The agency's multi-year campaign against so-called syndicated conservative easements shows how time-consuming it can be to take on high income tax payers. We have to define what easements are, but certainly easing the tax burden. Land deals, loaners donate rights to develop their property to conservation groups. Those restrictions reduce the value of the land, and the landowner can claim that diminished value has a charitable deduction. So again, people are playing also because what happens is if you own all sorts of assets and those assets aren't throwing off any kind of cash flow, you may own some land somewhere, but if you're not really making any money from it, you're still on the hook for the taxes that are associated with it. And those taxes, most likely, if it's in Jersey City or something like that, those taxes are commensurate with not just an empty lot, but a cash flow driven living community, where people rent or condominiums or something, but a cash flow entity where you're getting rents and payments from the people who live there instead of just an open pieces of land. Okay, and that's what people go to court over. So developers, promoters create mini industry that relies on aggressive appraisals to channel tax rates to people trying to cut their bills. They make money on the deals, or offering investors quick profits. So yeah, this thing. Again, if you're giving one valuation to the IRS, another valuation to the SEC, another value, this is what Trump's situation was, where he was involved where he had multiple valuations for property. One went to the bank to take out a loan, and you want that valuation to be highest possible when you want to get a loan off a particular property, and then another valuation to the IRS where you want to minimize that footprint. Same property. Some of those things are legal, though. That's the wild thing about that. Some of those maneuvers are legal, some of them aren't, and you better know the difference. And that's what we're going over the tax code in class. It's a complicated entity. There's no question about that. This thing, again, I don't want to spend too much time on syndicates with questionable reputations, but highlights the transactions on the tax return so the government could identify them more easily for audits. If there's criminal charges filed, and the Georgia promoters pled guilty to conspiracy to defraud the government in a case involving $250 million. And again, is this a tax case or is this a criminal case? But the deals persist, probably because the promoter can flood the system with transactions, setting aside money in each deal to fight the government, knowing the IRS can't challenge them all. So that's people really gaming the system. And believe me, the reason to invest, or the reason to sort of support or donate to political figures, is that you can get them to write these laws as you like, kind of a thing, to your benefit. That's what happens, folks. It happens domestically, it happens internationally. But here's what you need. This was a Tennessee case where the IRS had to come with auditors, forest experts, a drone-based video camera, teams of lawyers, the evidence, the pictures, expert witnesses. And this is the government. Try to get your local police department to do something, or your local municipal government. Try to get Belleville to do something, or whatever, Irvington, or whatever it might be, right? Good luck with that. That they're going to expend for this. It's just, they're going to want to settle. The court case required analysis of timber economics and residential real estate development absorption rates in Middle Tennessee after the financial crisis. There's a U.S. tax court. Now, there's no jury for tax court. It's just a judge. So denied the deduction, imposed penalties, but the verdict has been appealed, and they can appeal to maybe someone they politically gave money to at some circuit court somewhere, and it gets murky quickly. Here, some of the important points. Valuation disputes arise when the IRS challenges estates and large businesses. Democrats are considering changing the estate and capital gains tax laws, which would generate more such fights over what business assets are worth. That's it. That's what the Trump thing is worth, and is going is that's the basis of what's going on in New York and something else where there was a fair value compensation that taxes weren't paid on it. So, although it gets much less attention, tax dodging is also common in small businesses. We all know, I mentioned this in class, the story about the pizzeria guy and the restaurant in Patterson, the guy at Tom's River down the shore, the roofing guy who tells people he doesn't pay his taxes. And see, that's how, look, you should not do any of these kinds of things. Okay. And doubly what you shouldn't do, not that I'm ever going to endorse doing anything like this, but certainly talking about it is doubly dumb. Okay. To anybody. Another person is one person too many. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But I'm certainly not endorsing tax avoidance or tax dodging or any of those kinds of things. No wage earners underreport their incomes because they know that their employers send a W-2 form. Yeah, so there's your employers covering what you're being, if you're an employee, what you're earning. Cash dependent restaurants and rental home owners, though, are largely black boxes. Yeah. Without withheld tax or third-party reporting of income, non-compliance can reach 50%. So again, of a couple $100 billion uncollected annually in the tax years, because of the underreported income, 110 was attributable to businesses often small that pay through their owners' individual returns, an additional 45 billion of self-employed people, self-employment income. So we're starting to break up. Is it self-employed? Is it a pizzeria in Patterson? What is it? So the IRS plans to address some of its shortcomings with technology, including data analytics, to guide enforcement. Technology already means the government no longer needs armies to process paper returns. So that, let me tell you, it would scare me more going up against a program than going up against a person, because you can talk to a person, okay, and say, hey, you got this wrong, okay. But if it's some automated thing and you live in Scarsdale, New York, and you make 1.6 million, we're going to audit you, just on the base. And that's what it feels like. It feels like it's like, and again, it's election season, the midterms are coming up, so. There's a lot of reason for the Democrats. The Democrats have had quite a tough, couple years here. So there's every reason to, there's every reason to say, oh, well, look, we're going to go after the very rich, and we're going to pay more taxes. And the tax code is just for IRAs and keeping money aside for education, paying it, just that, which is a common thing that a lot of people do, is very complicated. Also, like I said, just to go back to the excuse me, just to go back to the regulation part of this, this is the dependency and deduction piece. This is sales and other dispositions of assets, some of the tax instructions. This is the individual retirement, and I have more than that. I've earned income tax credits, and I have all sorts of stuff floating around. So developed fraud detection systems. But again, you have computer systems that have been from like maybe 1980 to today, so over 40 years. You have 40 years of computer systems that might be very old, or might be very modern, or might be 20 years old. And for all those to sort of talk to one another, and the different programming languages, and even the different operating systems. When I was at Rutgers, we had the Unix operating system, the PC operating system, the whatever Apple used. So it wasn't just sort of a very and even in class, you see some of you have Google Sheets, some of you use the PC Excel, some of you have the Apple spreadsheet. It's all over the place. So at its core, the agency's advocates say what the IRS needs is more people, particularly skilled agents to dig through finances of wealthy people, complex partnerships and companies, and it can't happen overnight, even if Congress is willing to throw billions of dollars at the agency. And again, you need folks. I'll tell you, you saw it with the Trump thing. You need a subpoena to have access to documents and breaking into people's homes and what's this, what's that, kind of a thing. Okay, that's a very tough thing, and that should, I think, give you guys, as you progress in your careers, that even within your home you secure your paperwork. And I need to take that lesson too. I got stuff all over my house. I certainly in the next couple of years we have to secure everything that we have here, and not have things just laying out there that are private, and it's not being ready. That's a big part of it too, just simply not being ready. So anyway, new workers have to be recruited, trained, and again, any law enforcement guy takes a half a decade before they can really be useful. Okay, years before they're producing revenue, operating at full strength. And that's really, these guys are basically, what you're really looking at is just, you're going to replace a bunch of people who are retiring, and you're going to pay people a little bit more. So the budget for the IRS was about 10 billion in 08, 10 billion in 09, 12 billion in 10 and 11. Okay, yeah, I didn't look through the Affordable Care Act or the stimulus laws or anything. I didn't look through any of that because that stuff's a good 10 years old. But certainly it's important to look at it, and sort of the curbing of America's use of offshore accounts. Again, I'd have to dig into, that's certainly, what we're doing, but I have to dig into what the impact of that. So yeah, the IRS needs to create systems and forms, that kind of a thing, pull employees from various projects. Now, again, when the Republicans took control of the House of Representatives, additional money started drying up. The IRS was hit with a fiscal austerity push that culminated in 2011 budget deals between Obama and congressional Republicans. So again, and I'll tell you, the Democrats have had control of the White House. They've had control of a lot of the agencies, the Senate. They have control of the Congress, and stuff does happen. But again, you get a couple people who aren't going to go along with it. You get the Arizona congressperson, you get the senator, you get the guy from West Virginia doesn't want to go along with him. What's in it for me? So it's a complicated entity, and the Georgia races aren't as clear as can be. So the agency apologized for giving extra scrutiny to some conservative groups seeking nonprofit status, a controversy that cost the IRS acting commissioner's job. Yeah. So yeah, this is the Tea Party stuff. Again, that's way before even me. I wasn't really paying as much attention to it back then as certainly as I would today. And even after getting $2 billion in one-time money to implement the coronavirus relief programs, IRS inflation adjustment budget is down 7% since fiscal 2010, and the enforcement budget is down 25%, according to Janet Holtzblatt, a former congressional budget office executive who's now at the Urban Institute. So yeah, so the budget is lower. And here's an attorney who's in a sort of an advocate group here. It says a group of economists analyzed business transactions shrank from 20 to 4. Stuff would just end up in the queue, not be able to come out of there. So what is this? This is for, budget cuts cascaded through the agency. Who supervised small business cases in Southwest before leaving. It became harder to prepare for trials because auditors lacked the time to do so. Folks, let me tell you, a trial, it's a lot of time. If you make a mistake or you're wrong about something, the whole thing goes out the window. Okay, and then if the court's biased or something, which unfortunately, I didn't want to believe it when I was at Queens College. They said, "Oh yeah, well, it depends on where you go, but the court can be biased." I said, "Oh no," but they were right and I was wrong. They were really right about that. So, so this is another one. This is a revenue officer who's on leave for some reason from the IRS. Said there's a collecting unpaid taxes in Wisconsin dropped from 100 to about 30. So you can see that if you start drilling into the statistics, they're having trouble preparing for cases. They're having trouble collecting unpaid taxes. It's if you look at the details, the tax enforcement, collections, trials, all on the decline across the board. And so again, if you're putting some money in there, you're going to maybe bring it back to where it was maybe 10 years ago or something. So people wanting and receiving phone assistance, it's below 50%, and I could pack myself into that with the motor vehicle, but they never got back to me about my mom, renewing my mom's state of New Jersey identification. The public's getting shortchanged, which is true, but again, it's such a complex entity. The whole financial system. When I say financial system, I mean even personal systems and markets, and this whole, people's personal balance sheets, households' personal balance sheets, what's going on in business, what's going on in government. It's just to sit there and think that we can control that with a computer program. We're still in our infancy with the whole computer technology. We still are, believe me, we still are. Distributing monthly benefits, processing frequent updates of address, and again, getting the right home address, the right bank account, getting the documentations. Now, are you going to get a subpoena? You're going to go to court. Oh, I need a subpoena. That's more time and more signatures and more. They're on the hook if they're wrong. The IRS guys, hell, well, you're wrong, and you just inconvenience me. Now they're going to go. The citizenry is going to go after the IRS. Say, hey, you wasted my time with this nonsense. You were wrong, obviously. And that's that's a problem. People that don't file the returns and maybe aren't even in the system. That's a problem. Okay, the child tax credit thing is a big piece of this. Okay. The CBO is something that I like a lot. It says the administration has a detailed full plan, but call for more enforcement during its campaign. And the corporate tax proposal and infrastructure plan emphasize tax enforcement. And there's the Treasury hired an economist to advocate for more IRS. Say it's going to be economically worth it. Well, we'll see. So here, the Congressional Budget Office says for every 20 billion in enforcement yields 60 billion more in revenue. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's usually the CBO is pretty good. Okay, but they analyze pretty good. So and over a decade, that could be $1 trillion. Well, let's see if this is about 3 times 20 billion for enforcement, would yield 60 billion. You do that over a year, that's 600 billion, and times 2, yeah. So I mean, if you do some of the math over 10 years, then double that, right? Because if you do 40 billion in enforcement or something, you get this thing, you get about 100 billion a year times 10 years is about $1 trillion. Again, you want to be able to do that math. Okay, so yeah, this was a mouthful. All of this. You have some questions on this, and actually, what I want to do now is I want to go to the Excel, which is here. And actually, what I was going to do this in class with you guys. I want to go through how I made this little table. See here, the data that you need is here. Here's the data, and actually, if you look at your assignment, and here, let's look at your assignment. Here's assignment number 1, IRS. So I gave you the little, what do you call it? It's somewhere, here it is. Yeah, here's the table, but you've got to type this into Excel. I'm not going to give you a template or anything. You've got to type this in. Okay, you've got to be able to type it in. So what you need to do is, and what I'll do the following for you guys. Yeah, we'll sort of scrunch this in over here. We want to work on this side. Now here it's already done, but here I'm just gonna slide to the bottom here, and just sort of show you again. So you're gonna do audit rates by year, right? You want to bold it out. And I don't know. I seem to be leaning towards New Times Roman a bit more. Or times like that. You could do that if you want. Maybe make it a little bit, maybe make the fonts a little bit bigger. So you can see, learn how to deal with your font, right? What alignment, font, Times New Roman, border, fill if you need it, and the size of the thing, how big it is. You've got to get comfortable with the formatting cells option. All right, you're going to come down, year, all, individuals, like that, returns bigger than 1 million, and this is enforcement, right? And none of these are centered. You can say Control-1. I don't know. Well, this can all be text, and this could be center, and then hit OK. See, everything's centered. Okay. And with the enforcement personnel, the numbers are going to be in the thousands. And actually here, so this is text. So it's, if you just put in these zeros and it's not text, it'll just make 1 0. It'll do something like that. Okay. And this, we want this to be Control-1, font, Times New Roman. Okay. And you always want that to be a bit smaller. You want this to be 1 font smaller than the titles. And you can even make it blue instead of black font. The first year would be, you want to skip spaces, 2010. But watch. You want to center this. You want this to be a number. You don't want decimals. You don't want commas. None of that. Alignment center. And you can leave the font black if you want. So now what you've done is, this is formatted as a number. It's centered. There's no commas, no decimal places. You can leave the font as black if you want. It's not filled. What you can do is you can say Shift, down arrow, Control-D, and watch. I'm going to say equals that number plus 1, which gives me 2011, right? That's 2011. I added 1 to the previous number with an equal, a formula. It says equals D180, column D, row 187 plus 1. And then I'm going to say Shift, down arrow, Control D, which gets me to 2020. So now they're all numbers. See how they're all the number, right? They're all numbers here. And we can leave this Calabria for now. Okay. Now with the percentages, these you're just going to, you're not computing these or anything. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight all of this. We're going to say Control 1. We're going to go to percentage. We're going to make one decimal place. We're going to go to center. The font, we want this one, these we want to be blue font. Make it blue and hit OK. And now you can just type in, 1.1, 1.1, 1, 1, 9, 0.8, 0.7. See, it shouldn't be too much work to just go through and type this stuff. And actually, these, it's 0.009. Yeah, right? 0.008. 0.007. 0.006. Again, and then 0.00, whoops, 004. When you go for whatever reason, you have to put those extra 2 zeros in there. Have it be so, because you're putting in the number, right? You're really putting in the number is what, and then it's multiplying the thing by 100. So the 0.00 you multiply by 100. That's how you get the 0.9. You have to comp because you're these are percentages. Okay, these are percentages. This other stuff, this is just 8.4, 12.5, 12.1, 8, 5, 6, 8. Okay, that's it. Okay, and what these numbers are, these are the audit rates in terms of everybody and in terms of people make more than $1 million, and they've all plummeted. This is a third of what it was. This is a quarter of what it was in 2010. So if you look at the sort of the ratios here, so if you just say Control 1, number 2 is fine. Center, watch, equals this divided by, right? You're 36%. 0.4 is you're 30. You're a third of what it was 10 years ago. And the other one is not D, but F. So you can just change these to F. F. Same thing. You're about a third of where you were for people over $1 million and a third of where you were for all individuals. So it's down by 2/3 is what it is, if you want to look at it like that. And what we could do is we can just sort of cut these and just drop them off down here. And this other thing, this is just you're just entering numbers here. So 23.261. We want this to be centered. We want it to be blue. And we want this thing to be a number. Control D. This is 21.938. 20.704. 19.432. 18.229. 16.694. I discussed this in class. 16.003. 14.997. 13.887. 13.917. This is the number of enforcement officers that they have. So again, if you got 87,000 employees, is it 23 enforcement personnel? No, it's 23.261 times 1,000. So it's really this is really 23,000. You could do it that way too. I don't know why I did because that number just easily fits in. I probably should have done that. Watch, this is 23.261. I wanted to get you to read the how these things are sort of you want a comma in there for number, how these things are described in the literature, because you're going to be reading stock financial statements that have You're gonna be reading financial statements where it's there's a decimal or something. It's billions or trillions and that kind of a thing. See what I'm doing? And I have my keypad turned on, so I could just keypad the whole thing. You could do you can go either way. Okay. We went from, and yeah, let's look at the percentage change on this. The percentage change on this stuff, on these people, are equals where we are now versus where we started in 2010 when Obama was in, divided by Obama's number of enforcement officers. That's down by about 49%, is it? And 7.2. Why is this so different, this one? So this is percentage, 2 decimal places, center. Yeah, here we're at 43. Why is that? Okay. It should be the same. I don't know why it's not. Oh, yeah, pardon me. This is now, I saw a typo. 23. There it is. It's for 43. You're down 43%. Save. That's how you make your table. Okay, that shouldn't have taken too much. In college, you've got to be able to make a table. You got to be able to make a table like that in college. You have to. Okay. So that's what that looks like. That's making the table. That's making the table. Let's make the graphic. Okay, even though you have it here, right? I did one. So here, all the people making more than $1 million, we're going to go to insert, scatter. We'll take this one. This is scatter with straight lines. I think that's what we used. See that? And we're going to take the thing, and now we're going to work on it sort of at the bottom here. You can make it a little bit bigger if you want. Let's see, if you click on that line, it's the people making over $1 million. How many times? What's the percentage of those people being audited? Okay, it's plummeted. Now you have a legend here. See here we have chart layout. If you pick the first one, so it says chart title. You could do it individually. If you go to layout, you could do chart title, axis title. We want to put the legend, but the legend should go on top. See, we can do all those things. And also, we don't like to have something where this line is just sitting here and it doesn't refer to the years. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to design and hit select data. We're going to hit edit and we're going to do x-axis, all this stuff. This is going to be returns bigger than 1 million. Right? And look at that. So you click on this, right? You click on this, and now you're referring to your x-axis and your y-axis, right? This is your x-axis here. That's your y-axis. These are years, right? And this is simply percentages. Okay. You can make it a little bit bigger. And if you don't want 2% in between, you can right click, go to format the axis. See what it says major unit, instead of 2%, make it 1%. And you can see, and you can make these numbers a notch smaller. You can make the years a 9 instead of a 10. You could do that. Okay. And in terms of, because you're going to need these the range down here. You can use this blue. You can use a darker blue if you want. You could do that. So what I'm looking at, what I call, this is audit rates by year is what we did here. This is audit rates by year. You could put you could click on this and put a border around the thing. See what says outline. You could get like a gray or something. We can just put a little outline. And also here under outline, you want to just maybe do the darker outline. So you want to cut your graph off. You could right click on the graph, format the plot area. See what says shadow. You can do a nice preset of a fill or a nice shadow with this. Okay. All these lines, just click on the right click on the grid line, format the grid line, style. You want to make it thinner, dashed. The color, you could change the color. That's the general blue. You could even go with your blue a little bit. So you can see it a little bit better. That's kind of nice to do it like that. And here, if you want to fill the thing, a very light fill, right? You can do a very light fill on it. Okay. That's how you do. That's how you make a line. I'll do the other one for you too, but that's how you make a line. So here, now we're going to right click. We're going to select data. We're going to add. So this is all returns, everyone's returns. And now here, since we have a little more experience, we'll do, up to 2019. We'll do all these other percentages. These are all individuals. That's all individuals. Hit OK, hit OK. All right. And I don't like that red. So we'll do another, even do purple. How's that? See? And see how your legend tells you what you're doing? There's your scatter. There's scatter. They're not line. They're scatter graphs. These are scatter graphs. Let's see. You did a little analysis here. How much lower is it? Well, we're at 1/3% of the percentages that we were 10 years ago. Again, 1/3, and we're down 40% for enforcement personnel. This will be the enforcement personnel will be the next one. Here, let's just do this one. We'll do insert. We'll do a bar graph. Column, bar. See? We'll pick the layout, which is right there. Okay. We'll right click, select the data, edit, and it's going to be up to 20, right? 2010 to 20, which is right there. Hit OK. This is thousands. Okay, something like that. You can put the legend on top again, like we like to do, and you can take this thing and you could. So it's enforcement personnel. So, yeah, this is number of something like that. You can click on it. Do another one of those darker gray outlines. You can click on this thing, make this thing a darker gray outline, right? Okay, you click on this, layout, axis, horizontal, below. That's years. Right, actually here, axis title, vertical, rotated, number, thousands, something like that. And then you can just cut it, and drop it in down here. Right? How's that? Okay. And you can do other stuff to this. You can right click, format, shadow. Remember the first thing? You pick the shadow. Fill, solid, very light. Okay. Close the grid lines, format the grid lines again, style, 0.5 point, dash. You could do the colors again. What are we doing? Do purple with this. All right, make it a little bit different. A little exciting. So, okay. And you can put labels. I'm not going to keep the labels because I don't think that they're going to look that great. But layout, data labels, outside edge. You can leave them. They look pretty good. Bold them out. You could even put a box around them, something like that. But there's some of your data. So it reads right off of what your numbers will look. So you went down from 23,000 to about 13,000. Okay. Save this. Now here, you did that all in Excel. I I have this sitting around, but you don't really need this. I'm saying you don't need me to give it. You can't type this. Put the assignment. Right, assignment number 2. So your cover page should look like this, whatever your course is, and don't leave it XX. If it's finance, make it finance. If it's fall 22, put fall 22 or spring or whatever it is. Right, 4/15, whatever, something, the date, right, the first assignment, right. So you do all those changes. So here, so what are we gonna do? For file, save as. This is assignment 1, last, whatever your last name is. Okay. And you could do date. You could put the date, September. What is it? September 19th. Are you going to get it done by next Monday? Let's hope so. Okay. You got to post. And you don't wait. Don't wait till the end. Don't wait till the end. All this other stuff. There's other stuff here. There's some graphics. You don't need this. All this other stuff. This is all just, you don't need any of this stuff. Okay. And then what you'll do is you're going to go to your assignment here, right? And you're going to pick off all of your questions like this. You could just, rip roar through it like this, copy. You can clean it up. You can take this to any notepad to clean up the formatting, and then go up here, cut this, go to your assignment, right here, boom. Right. And then what you do is you give yourself some space and you answer, and you can clean it up, right? Like that. You can clean it up like that, right? And you answer all your questions. Okay. Right. And you make it look, right. You organize this a little bit better, have a little better visual. Let me tell you, folks, how things look, how things look mean a lot. All right. So you give yourself a lot of space, and then you type in, answer, put your answers in. Right. You put all your answers in like that. And then with your graphic, you just go back. So get rid of this. Go back to your Word or your Excel. We did this. Copy. Click on a copy here. Paste. And you do the same thing with the other graph. You put the other graph in. Right, and give yourself some space. You don't need to put phone numbers, but just put your name, your email at the bottom of this thing. So this is the footer. You can just click in it. Say just and then hit escape to get out of it. All right. You want to put always have identifying stuff in there. Okay. That's it. That's what we're doing. Okay. That's what we're doing. And you put the other graphic. And then once you do this, you save, you save it, and then watch. File, save as PDF. And again, if that's a fast step. The save as P, and then you just email this to yourself or something, and then you post it to Blackboard from the library. So now you have a nice PDF. You can give it to the guys. Hey, here's my analysis, right? And that's it. Okay, but that's what you should do. Cover page, answer the question. So you don't sit there and say, "Oh, we don't know what it looks like," and you have a whole video that explains. This is a 2-hour video that I made for you guys. I think that explains the whole story, the lecture, the assignment. Okay, all the new stuff that's up on Blackboard. So I'll post this video link. As the Giants are playing right now, so we're gonna get to the game. But so looking at this, so yeah, we're here with this. So right, you have your IRS stuff here. What do you have? What's new? I'll just repeat what's new. You have the assignments folder with the questions. So go through all these steps. Go through all these steps. Okay. Yeah, the economic videos here, and again, I apologize for there being 2 of these, but there shouldn't have been, because like I said, I was just clicking around. I shut it off by accident. I was ready to bite something, but yeah. So there you go. So you have this, and this will be a weekly thing probably. And then you have the new regulation stuff here, and then on the announcement. So I'll put this link. I'll put it here, and it'll be identified with this stuff. This will be for assignment number 1. Kind of a thing. Okay. Stop presenting. again, folks, we spent 2 hours, talking today. So hopefully you guys are good with this, and we'll see it in the weekend. Again, just a reminder, Monday normal schedule. Wednesday, just my 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock classes meet. The 1 and 2 o'clock classes do not meet for Wednesday. Thursdays all day YouTube, and you have the Associated Press, and probably expect another one on the 16th or around the 16th for the Associated Press stuff. Okay, folks, it was great seeing everybody.